Wow, what a roller coaster ride that was. And for the first time in the Warriors dynasty, they fall behind 0-2 in a series. Is it over for the Warriors? Is this just the beginning of things to come? Did Draymond Green do anything wrong? Was he the villain? Was he just innocent? Kylen and I are going to break all that down and so much more next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. And tonight's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. You can follow Kylen Mills on all social media platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Kylen Mills. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. Kylen, is the hashtag free Draymond trending yet? If not, I wonder if it will. That was one wild game. Your immediate reaction, Kylen. How are you doing?
Hey, well, Cyrus would be better if the Golden State Warriors had won game 2. It was tough. It was tough to watch. The Warriors did make a late push. They showed signs of life in the fourth quarter. And I thought possibly that the Draymond Green ejection could ignite this team and force them to lock in a little bit more. Something I tweeted is that going back to game 1 of the Memphis series in last year's playoffs, it was the Western Conference semifinals. Draymond got ejected and the Warriors said it lit a fire under them. They locked in more and they ended up sneaking out a 117-116 victory. So up until that point, I was hopeful that the Warriors might be able to pull this off, and they just fell apart. I think the Warriors closed out quarters. They closed out the game poorly. I didn't like the shot selection. I think the careless turnovers were a major issue. I thought that there were some unnecessary fouls that were committed. It's a frustrating loss for sure. But, to me, I think the one thing that stands out is turnovers. There were just 20 turnovers is too many. And the thing is, the Warriors have been able to get away with that many turnovers with electric offense in the past and by doing so many other things well, by having a top 5 defense, but they haven't done that this season. So that's the thing. Yes, the Warriors have always been a team that turns the ball over, but they've also executed in other areas of the game better than they are right now. So you can't afford to turn the ball over without a higher level execution in other facets of the game. They didn't have a top 5 defense this season. They had one of the worst road defenses in the NBA this season. And so that's where I think some of the issue lies.
I don't even know where to start. I mean, there's so many places. I guess let's start with the what's going to be the biggest talking point for the rest of the night for tomorrow, and that's going to be the Draymond Green, Domantas Sabonis altercation. Look, I'm a firm believer in a couple things. One being that when you judge certain events, in this case being an altercation between those two players, judge them individually. Don't let reputation cloud your judgment. Draymond Green, for better or worse, I feel unfortunately has a reputation as being a villain. I think that reputation largely comes from the fact that he's a very vocal individual. He's not afraid to speak his mind, and society doesn't like people that do that in most cases. And look, I mean, the stuff that happened 7 years ago, I feel that was grossly over exaggerated. Yes, his legs flung in Steven Adams' groin. But then LeBron James walked over him, one of the biggest signs of disrespect on a basketball court, and Draymond Green reacted. He was baited. LeBron succeeded in the bait, but all Draymond did was flick him in the shorts. It didn't even hit his genitals. But because of stuff like that, he has this really awful reputation. So tonight, just to recap, Domantas Sabonis is basically on the ground. Draymond Green's getting up to move on with the play, and Sabonis blatantly grabs his leg. So Draymond, and again, I was literally reenacting the whole play in my living room, trying to understand, okay, what if someone grabbed my leg? How much control could I have? Could I be properly balanced? And no, I'm trying, if I hop around on 1 foot, look, I'm a surfer. So I have to have decent balance. And for a long time, I used to have one of those endo boards in my living room. So I'd play with that thing doing kick flips and stuff. So balance is the name of my game, but I'm not a super great balanced individual, even with all those sports that I do. And doing anything on one leg is not easy. It is not easy to balance yourself, to control yourself. And yet all I was seeing, at least on social media, in terms of reactions, was it, wow, Sabonis, that was a dirty play. That's something you do in a fight, grabbing someone else's leg as they're trying to run away. Instead, all I saw was that Draymond was awful for stomping Domantas Sabonis on the chest. And none of us can say for certain it was intentional. All we can say is it was the effect of the cause being Sabonis grabbing Draymond's leg. The effect was Draymond, whether it was intentional or not, stomping Sabonis on the chest. Sabonis then proceeds to do that dramatic act where it looked like he was dying, and then all of a sudden 5 minutes later he seems fine and playing basketball again. So that's my interpretation of it. I don't think Draymond should be suspended. I thought the flagrant 2 was excessive. Kylen, your thoughts? And if you disagree, that's okay, obviously, but your thoughts.
Yeah, so I agree with you on a lot of points in regards to the Draymond Green Sabonis altercation, not an altercation, but whatever you want to call it, incident. It was funny to me because I follow and am friends with a number of people in the Kings media and fan base, and immediately Draymond's so dirty. I can't believe he would do that. Get him out of the game, blah, 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 with no mention of the fact that Domantas Sabonis clearly grabbed and wrapped up Draymond's ankle.
Yeah.
So, I do think there's something to be said for the fact that Draymond gets treated unfairly in this league. I think, like you said, he never gets the benefit of the doubt. He's never going to get the call because he's Draymond and he's loud and he runs his mouth and he, has this big personality and he has the podcast and all these other things that rub people the wrong way, and his history of, technicals and the whole Draymond persona.
Yes.
So the fact of the matter is, I think that's exactly what led to the reactions. People immediately are going to point the finger, but I thought that there should have been also more blame cast on Sabonis. I'm glad that the referees ended up calling something on him in return, but I don't know. I think that, it was the effect, the cause of that effect was the fact that he was grabbed first.
Yes.
Now, to be clear, I don't think that Draymond should have stepped on him. I don't think that Draymond should have put the foot into his, rib, whatever it was. This is a critical and pivotal point in the game, and the Warriors are gaining some steam and trying to close the gap. And like I mentioned, I thought maybe what happened in the Memphis series last season would happen again, and that the Warriors would respond in a big way to Draymond Green getting ejected. But on the other hand, you're taking the Warriors' arguably best defender, one of their best defenders alongside Gary Payton II, out of the game during a critical stretch against one of the best offensive teams in the NBA. And this is a Warriors team that has struggled defensively. I don't think they necessarily needed that at that point in the game. So to me, that's where Draymond has to be smarter. Yes, it's frustrating. Your leg is getting grabbed, but you've got to do a better job of keeping your emotions in check and just keeping that level head to try to stay in the game. And, it's something that Draymond hasn't been perfect at throughout his career. And like I said, I don't think some of the reactions necessarily appropriated blame appropriately, because both parties were to blame. And Domantas, like I said, instigated the incident by grabbing first. But Draymond also does have some responsibility to try to stay in the game so that he can help the Warriors in effect winning. And
That's fair.
it's
That's
Draymond.
the criticism.
And
You're
Draymond
right.
also knows. Draymond also knows his reputation in the league.
Yeah.
He knows how they call him too. He's talked about it flat out, that he knows he doesn't get treated the same way as other people.
Yeah.
Right or wrong. And you just mentioned taking the blame as well, or taking the bait that Draymond's done in the past. He's got to know better at some point, right? Like you're playing right into their hands, and this is what they want to happen. And he knows that he's not going to get the calls, and he knows that he's going to be ejected immediately, or he's going to get the flagrant for infractions that other players wouldn't be called the same way on because of who he is. But he's aware of that. And since he is aware of that, you've got to try to keep it in check to stay in the game, because like I said, it could go two ways. Maybe the Warriors get fired up and pull off a miracle like they did in Memphis, or, maybe this game could have ended differently if Draymond had been in the game. Because at this point, Warriors defense could use all the help it can get. And, Draymond's one of the leaders of this team. I don't know that you want to be getting ejected late in a game 2 where you're down in the series.
Yeah. And I guess I should not forget the fact that he punched his teammate before the season started. That has to be acknowledged. But let me ask you this: for the sake of argument, what could have Draymond done instead? Because again, I was trying to reenact the whole thing where if someone grabs your leg and Sabonis is right under him, so it's not like he had anywhere else to put the other foot down. And like if you're in a position where your leg's getting grabbed and you're losing your balance in a split-second moment like that, it's not easy to like just redirect your leg outside of like maybe putting yourself in a position where you're doing the splits or you just fall flat on your face. I guess like what would you have what, in your mind? And this goes for anyone. First of all, senior softball games who keeps coming in here. I know you're a Kings fan and I see you on Larry's show a lot, but you said you were leaving 5 minutes ago and you're hooked. You're not going anywhere, just talking trash. And if you want to say you were a Draymond apologist, all I'm asking is A, who started the whole damn thing? And B, and this is where Kylen, for you and anyone else that says he shouldn't have stomped him, it's hard for me to argue against that, right? Of course, I'm not advocating stomping people who are on the ground, but what could he have done instead in that situation?
I mean, I think he could have definitely hopped over him. To me, it looked like he was preparing to step over and he purposely put his foot down. Like, yes, you could try to shake him off, without stepping down. I mean, there was a downward motion, there was a force down into the chest area. Or I don't know, you could fall. I mean, at the end of the day, if someone's grabbing your ankle, I'm trying to think if that's ever happened to me in soccer because I played soccer where your feet are, and if I get tangled up or
like
someone's
this.
grabbing me, go down.
He grabbed him like this with his arms. Like he had his
Yeah,
arms.
no, I saw. Yeah, he had it
Like,
wrapped. He had it wrapped.
it was
Go
crazy.
down. Go down, step over, whatever. I mean, I do think there are other reactions, Cyrus. I really do. He went out of his way to step downward. He could have tried to shake him off. He could have tried to hop over him. I think he could fall to the ground. Like I said, fall to the ground at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
he's grabbing your ankle, fall over, play the game back. If there's, any type of acting going on, it's gamesmanship. Do it right
Yeah.
back to him. Fall over and act like, that you just got wrapped up. So yeah, I think that Draymond could have and should have reacted differently. I really do. I mean,
fair.
and I
That's fair.
don't think Sabonis was in the right, but Draymond is also in control of what his reaction is. And he's got to know at that point in the game, if he does that, he's going to get ejected. And that's not necessarily going to help this team.
Yeah, well, that's the thing where I don't know if he had control over that. Again, like he was literally like his left leg I think was grabbed, and I haven't had a chance to look at a bunch of the replays, but like unless he had his balance completely like regained, and the only replays I saw were in total slow motion, so in real time it was happening so fast. Like I don't know. And again, I ask anyone else out there, like just practice in your living room, on your carpet, or on your floor, wherever. Like just hop around on 1 foot for a second and tell me that it's easy to control where you're going to put that other leg down in a split second moment. I was just practicing myself and I was like, wow, it is not that easy, but I do need to look at the replay again. And the one thing I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with you is that Draymond needs to be more self-aware in terms of his role, his position, and yes, his reputation, for better or worse, regardless of whether or not it's fair. You need to be aware that people's eyes are on you and they're looking at you scrupulously, extra carefully. And so when you make mistakes, they're going to see them. They're going to catch them. That's the part where I can't defend Dre. It's like, be smarter. You're too important for this team. Your ejection, but then there's the other side of it, right? Like, and this is where when we come back, we'll talk about whether or not this represents the end, because I honestly thought that if the Warriors lost this game, it was over. And I still don't know if I think differently, but that Draymond ejection did bring some fuel to this series. I mean, I feel like it did give some new energy to the Warriors, and what they do with that, it's up to them. We'll find out. But Kylen, I'd love to get your thoughts on the future of the Warriors and just how impactful tonight's game was, how much meaning it had in terms of the whole dynasty. First, though, we got to give some love, and they got an overlay to Ultimate GM, and I know they have an overlay here. If I can find it, is this it right here? Yes, it is. And the whole premise of Ultimate Pro Basketball is to play the role of a GM. Kylen, have you played the game yet?
No.
You should. It's fun. It's really fun. I had to quit in the Locked On League because everyone was taking it so damn seriously. I was getting my ass kicked, so I had to stop there. But it's fun. It's a time sucker. And look, that's really the point of so much of what we do, right? Is just deflecting from the hardships of reality. And if you love basketball and you love NBA basketball or professional basketball, Ultimate Pro Basketball GM is the game for you. And look, Locked On Warriors listeners, you get a 100% free boost to your franchise when you use the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com. Scan that code right below us or look it up on the app stores. That's probasketballgm.com. Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty. And let's hope the Warriors dynasty continues today.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day, everydayers. Tomorrow on the show. Wait, what day is today? Is today Monday? I don't know who's coming on next. I know CJ Holmes is on the docket. I know Gary St. Jean, former Golden State Warriors head coach, former Sacramento Kings GM. Or is it the other way around? I'm told maybe I'm brain farting, but whatever it is. Gary St. Jean hopefully will be coming on the show. So a lot of shows still to come, but right now we're just immediately following Warriors Kings. That was a battle. The Warriors find themselves down 0-2. Kylen, how serious was this loss tonight? It's the first time since 2007 that the Warriors have fallen behind 0-2 in a playoff series. It's never happened to any of them. So this is uncharted territory. How meaningful was this loss to you?
This was super meaningful. It completely changes the complexion of the series, the playoff outlook, and then therefore you already alluded to the postseason or the postseason, the offseason, I guess I should say, the offseason and beyond. I just think you're looking at a totally different ball game if you go back split to Chase Center, where the Warriors have played extremely well and you feel good about the fact that the team could potentially take two. You go up 3-1 and you're very, much more comfortable than what you would be going back now down 0-2. Let's say the Warriors take two, you're tied up. Well, the Kings have home court advantage through the rest of the series. And for a team that has struggled to play on the road, and clearly that has continued at Golden One Center, that's not necessarily a comfortable place to be. And, we're all talking about Warriors in 6 and whatnot, but I think that the Warriors going up 3-1 is a very different series to look at than going up 2-0 or going up being tied 2-2. And that's a big if they take both games at Chase Center. If they play the way they did in these two games, the Warriors are not going to win. I don't care if they're playing in Gold One Center. I don't care if they're playing in Chase Center, despite a couple of bad calls. Doesn't matter. The Warriors have no one to blame but themselves in this. Now, is it still possible? Yes, I think it is still possible that the Warriors take the series. I'm not necessarily saying that's out of the realm of possibility, but this is going to define what this championship core is made of. I mean, look at all the adversity they faced throughout the season. If they overcome a first round down 0-2, playing the Sacramento Kings for the first time ever, I mean, there already has been just a lot of, I feel like, drama, animosity building. I mean, not necessarily maybe amongst the players, but amongst the fans for sure. And some of the media members. Like, I just feel like the series has been so full of drama with it being the two NorCal teams playing each other for the first time. So if the Warriors come back from an 0-2 deficit, I mean, I just think that this would be an incredible story. People have been saying, this is the feel of The Last Dance. And I don't want to say The Last Dance, but the feel of like a movie. I don't know how else to describe it, but like a reality story in the making. I do want to point out a couple of positives from tonight, and you brought up a couple of comments. And one thing I do want to point out going into game 3 and looking ahead is that I think that Moses Moody earned himself more minutes. Moses Moody is a player who impressed me tonight. He was flying around. Yes, he got 2 fouls early, or he committed 2 fouls early, but after that, I thought he settled in. He had a couple of really nice defensive possessions. There was one I remember where he closed De'Aaron Fox out pretty well. Forced a miss, just stuck with, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Sabonis, someone else on the drive. Maybe Malik Monk was on the drive. And I remember I was like, okay, Moody, he went straight up and ended up forcing a miss. So I thought defensively, he settled in much better. He was flying around, grabbing rebounds, playing with a ton of energy, had a couple of tip-ins just because he was crashing the glass super hard. And that's one thing I think one area the Warriors have lacked is like crashing the glass, playing with hustle. And just playing aggressively on the boards. Like they've been getting out rebounded in the series. I thought that Moses Moody stood out to me as just someone who played with heart, played with intensity, crashed the glass hard, made an impact in the moments that he was in. And he didn't play much, but let me see if the stats were still the same. Late in the game, he was a team best +4 or 5 at some point. Okay, so we ended, so Moody ended with 4 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and was +1, which was the second best on the team. Steph Curry was +3. And so, I think that speaks volumes to the impact he made in just 8 minutes on the court. I wouldn't mind seeing Moses Moody get more minutes. A player who was really quiet on the flip side was Dante DiVincenzo. 0 points. He was the worst on the team in the plus minus category with minus 13. He had a couple of turnovers that were pretty uncharacteristic, only had a couple of rebounds, 1 assist. So I was surprised. So those are 2 surprises for me tonight. I guess on
Yeah,
the positive side, Moses Moody, I was really impressed. Like he just brought, like he was literally like flying around, like he brought energy and intensity. And then Dante DiVincenzo on the flip side felt the opposite, which was very surprising. And then I thought Gary Payton II did bring some good energy as well. In terms of bench guys, I want to give him a little bit of a shout out. And on the flip side of that, Jonathan Kuminga, 4 minutes. Don't know that he looked great in those 4 minutes, but it also wasn't enough time for me to really make a great evaluation because I
exactly. Thank you.
wasn't
Thanks for saying that.
specifically watching him the whole time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little bit odd. So those are some of my thoughts on the rotation. I don't know if you have any others, but I just want to point out a positive I thought was that Moses Moody played really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have a lot to say here. I'm because I'm looking at the box score right now, and so much sticks out. For starters, I think it's very well. What do we have with the clock here before I go into that? I'll give you my thoughts when we come back. We're already at the 20-minute mark because I got to give some love to our second sponsor, and that's Game Time, which I've been pumping up a lot on this show for the simple reason that I don't feel like Dub Nation's representing enough. All I'm hearing is cowbells. All I'm hearing is are Kings fans, and man, are they a loud bunch. I mean, they drove E40 away from Sacramento, and the Game Time app is all you would have needed to buy some tickets, go into Golden One Center, and make some noise for Dub Nation. It's been quiet in there. But nonetheless, if you want tickets for events, if you want tickets for concerts, for anything that requires you to purchase a ticket, buy it from the Game Time app. One of the best things that Game Time does for you is it guarantees a price, meaning like if you buy a ticket with Game Time and then you see that same ticket listed somewhere else in the same section and row, and it's listed for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That is literally called a guarantee, folks. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you. I'm gonna leave the oops, wrong graphic. I forgot to use the Game Time app during the overlay during the ad. So I'll leave it up for a minute to make up for that. Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're hyping up the everydayers. Those are the folks that literally tune in on a daily basis because we are the only daily Warriors show, as is most Locked On programs. We're a daily show. So thank you so much to the everydayers. Kylen Mills is an everydayer, even though she's not every day on here yet. And that's why we want to promote hitting that like button, subscribing to the show. The sooner we grow, the sooner Kylen becomes a permanent co-host alongside me. So we're both co-hosts 50-50. So please subscribe, hit the like button, and get the word out there so we can grow the show and make it not just me with Kylen. Sometimes we can make it Kylen with me all the time. I have feelings. I have thoughts about tonight's game. There's a lot of things that stuck out to me that were colossally disappointing. First things first, in game one thing that stuck out a lot to me, and Steve Kerr, thankfully I heard him say the same thing as being the number one reason why they lost game one was offensive rebounds. They got killed in the glass. So what happens tonight? They gave up 9 offensive rebounds in the first half, 12 total for the game. They were out-rebounded offensively 12-9. In terms of total rebounds, they actually were tied 41-41, which was surprising. But
That
points
was
in the paint, a category the Warriors virtually never win. I remember just one, maybe 2 times the whole regular season where the Warriors won in that category. They lost that category again tonight. Outscored in terms of points in the paint, 54-40 to the Sacramento Kings. But specifically, things I saw that I just thought Steve Kerr just really messed up on. For starters, I love Andrew Wiggins. I'm glad he's back. He undoubtedly is making an impact out there, but I don't know if someone who's been missing for nearly 3 months in just a second game back should be playing the second most minutes on your team. He played 39 minutes tonight. Look, he shot the ball good. He was 9 for 19. That's almost 50%. Not great from beyond the arc. He was 2 for 8. Did finish with 22 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, but again, it's just a second game back. 39 minutes for him. We couldn't have taken maybe 5 of those minutes and given them to, I don't know, Jonathan Kuminga, a player who I'm trying to propagate this stat, and a stat is not as propaganda because it's subjective. It's a fact. Here's a fact about Jonathan Kuminga, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. When he plays 25 or more minutes this year, they win over 70% of the time. That's a fact. When he plays 20 minutes or less, they lose over 70% of the time. So what happened with Jonathan Kuminga tonight? And Kylen, you mentioned the 4 minutes. Just to be more exact, 3 minutes, 56 seconds in tonight's game. And that was enough for Steve Kerr to decide, no, we don't need your 6'8" size. We don't need your athleticism. We don't need your efficiency in terms of shooting. Yeah, we don't need any of that. So I don't understand the 3 minutes, 56 seconds. I don't understand why JaMychal Green is not playing more than, I don't even remember when those 50 seconds were. I think it was in the second quarter when he briefly came in the game. But if Mike Brown is going to give Alex Len minutes in this game, and those minutes are impactful for the simple reason that Alex Len is big. That was one of the things I noticed when I saw Moses Moody out there. You notice his size. You notice that 7'1" wingspan. He was cutting off passing lanes. He was making it just a little harder for players like De'Aaron Fox to attack the rim or to feel comfortable taking 3-point shots because he suddenly had a long arm and hand in his face. So I was relieved that at least we saw Moody, but I don't understand why Steve Kerr has this aversion to Jonathan Kuminga so far in the first 2 games of the series. JaMychal Green, again, I understand the reason why no one should be particularly excited about playing him. But again, when Alex Len is out there, I think JaMychal Green can handle that assignment. And JaMychal Green is one of the biggest players on your roster at 6'9". Alex Len, he played 13 minutes in game 1, was highly productive. Tonight, he played 8 minutes more, scored 4 points, was a +7 in the plus minus. I don't understand this small ball, this really incessant focus on small ball. It's killing the Warriors. It's you could see their energy levels being depleted. It's not making any of their shot selections easier because routinely you have bigger people in your face, like challenging your shot. It's not making it easier on your defense in terms of shot blocking, in terms of challenging shots, in terms of cutting off lanes for passing, in terms of making it more difficult for opponents to drive into the paint. This focus on small ball, it's great when you have Stephen Curry in his prime. And look, Steph is fine. I'm not saying he's not. But one player who's not in his prime anymore, and this is evident, and the numbers tonight will not show it, but Klay Thompson is not playing great basketball in this series. Again, this was the second night in a row where he scored 21 points, but these are not 21 points that are profound difference-making points. He was a -11 in the plus-minus, second only to Dante DiVincenzo, who's been another colossal disappointment. I have no idea what's going on there. But Klay, to me, again, despite the fact that he shot the ball better tonight, he was 5 for 10 from beyond the arc, but there's just something off there. Like, he's not making clutch baskets. He's not making timely baskets. And I don't know. I'm not feeling great. So those are just some things that stuck out to me in tonight's game. Do you have any reaction to anything I just said?
Yeah, I feel like small ball. So I've been concerned with the size all season. So I hear a lot of what you're saying. I
Yeah.
would have liked to see the Warriors sign a free agent big, trade for big, something. I advocated for that. My concern
Yes.
was, exactly some of this in certain matchups in the postseason that were going to be unfavorable. Now, some folks will bring up the Warriors have won with small ball. They didn't have, that much size last season, although they did have a little bit more size because Nemanja Bjelica and Otto Porter Jr. were both 6'9" or above, correct? Or 6'8" and 6'9".
Bjelica was, yeah, correct. And don't forget Otto Porter Jr. too, who was 6'8", right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, 6'8"
Yeah.
and 6'9" in terms of, so those were 2 bigger guys off the bench still than what we have right now when you're looking at Dante DiVincenzo, GP2, and then Moses Moody gives a little bit of size, but not that. But still, so if people want to point out, they didn't have a backup center. They still weren't super big last year. They ran the small ball. The issue is that if you run the small ball, you have to be really perfect in other areas of the game. And that's where I say that, you can't afford the turnovers, but also be playing small, but also be not shooting the 3 ball well. So I feel like, yes, you can afford to give up one when you look at different aspects of the game, but you cannot not perform in all these different areas. So they don't have a top five, 5 defense this year. They're turning the ball over a ton. They're small. It's like when you check all the boxes, they're not shooting the 3 ball as consistently as a team as they have in the past. And tonight, I thought it was very apparent down the stretch. I think they finished the game right around 32% from 3, which isn't terrible, but like, especially late in the fourth quarter, you saw they were missing shots. I don't think that in general they've been shooting the 3 fantastic this season. And I think a lot of the losses we've seen, they haven't shot the 3 ball well. And part of the reason why is that I don't feel like they can overcome some of these shortcomings because they're not executing in other areas of the game. So like you live and die by the 3, but you can overcome that if you play great defense. And that's why the Warriors had predicated their team on defense the last couple seasons under Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr's argument is, hey, yeah, we shoot a ton of threes, but we can survive if we don't shoot great from 3 because we play great defense and we prevent the other team from scoring. And great defense leads to transition buckets that we know we can make. And so the Warriors haven't been playing great D this season. This, series in particular, you're playing against the best offense during the regular season in the NBA. That's not going to help either in a team that's already struggled with perimeter defense and in a number of different areas defensively, and especially defensively on the road. So to me, it's the fact that the Warriors, you can't get away with being small and then, like I said, not execute in all these other areas of the game, not be a strong defensive team this season, turn the ball over 20 times, not shoot the 3 ball well, the things that they typically are strengths for this team. Well, turnovers aren't typically strengths, but again, turnovers are something they can get over and have been able to in the past because, they make a ton of threes. Well, on nights when the offense is electric and they're scoring in all different ways, and they're being aggressive and attacking when they're aggressive and attacking, that opens up the lanes for the outside shooters to knock down threes. When the offense is hitting, it's great. It's
Yeah.
magic when they're knocking down threes and scoring inside, when they get the inside out game going, when, Steph is lighting up, all that stuff. Yeah, it's great. It's fun. It's amazing basketball to watch. But they can't now grind out wins when the shots aren't falling. And that's something to me that's felt very different than last year. Last year, I felt a different heart, a different hustle, a different ability to grind out wins by playing tough defense that isn't there this season.
They had depth. They don't have depth this year. They have no depth. I mean, like Jordan Poole, for example, is your 6th man. And I know he had an awful game. He played 15 minutes. He was just 1 for 7, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, but he was also hobbled. Like he had that at the ankle injury. You could see him not being 100%. He just shouldn't have played. He just should not have played tonight. But you're right. When you look at the rest of the bench, first of all, Kuminga's supposed to be one of those key cogs in the bench. And when we saw him for 3 minutes, 56 seconds, Gary Payton II to me is really the only player off the bench who's doing anything. And even then, I'm glad he saw 6 more minutes tonight versus the 20 he got in game 1. He played almost 27 tonight. I wouldn't mind seeing him 5 more minutes from him. I wouldn't mind seeing him approach the 30-minute mark in terms of playing time. I know Kevon Looney played 23 minutes, but partly that was because of foul trouble. But yeah, I'm with you. They can't make the little mistakes and survive this year. And it's largely because of the fact that they just don't have enough players to give them reinforcements. And this is where this has got to be saved for a whole other show. In terms of just what went wrong for the Warriors this season, is that Bob Myers had a very clear vision. He saw that Kuminga and Moody were going to play a lot, and James Wiseman. And that by this time of the season, after them getting a lot of reps during the regular season, gaining experience, developing their game, that they were going to be contributing right now. But instead, you saw Kerr stepping in and being stubborn about it, going, no, I don't like this vision. I'm going to play my vets. This is a championship or bust team, and this is what we have now. I don't know. There's a few chats that I starred. If you want to address a few of those.
Sure.
Fable JVC writes, Kuminga needs to exploit and expose Sabonis when he draws Sabonis on switches, take him to the hole and dunk on his head. I wholeheartedly agree. I just wish Kuminga was actually playing so he could do that. I know he had an awful 3 minutes, 56 seconds tonight. Maybe awful is a strong word, but he wasn't doing anything special. But I just don't understand why he doesn't have Kerr's trust in terms of just letting him play through these things. If he has a bad start, keep going, kid. Like, I don't understand the mistrust there. Anything you feel or about Kuminga in terms of why he's not playing much?
I agree. When he has a bad stretch, he gets yanked, then he doesn't get another chance, where other players do.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to mention, I don't know if you want to bring up one of the chats, but a lot of people pointing out Jordan Poole as well. I didn't think he had a great night. I tweeted at
No.
one point that he appears to just not be able to close out any quarter. Like to me, he just seems he's been falling apart this season, late in games or in crunch times or late quarter situations. So that's definitely an area of concern going into our games at Chase Center. Do you have any thoughts on JP?
Well, yeah, I just mentioned how like he just shouldn't have played. He was listed on the injury report as questionable
Yeah.
because I remember the play vividly in game one where he rolled his ankle
Mhm.
and he couldn't move tonight. I don't know if that had to do with his shooting overall. He had an awful shooting night. Again, 1 for
Yeah.
7 from the field, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc. He should not have been playing. I mean, he was a liability out there. He played awful. He played absolutely awful. I totally agree. The Punisher, by the way, writes that the Bucks were down 0-2 versus the Suns 2 years ago in the NBA Finals. That's true. That is optimism. I can respect that. Rebel the Sounds writes Kuminga is lost out there again. Let's hold off on judgment if they're only playing 3 or 4 minutes. It's just impossible to properly judge a player when they're that out there for that little. This is something that stuck out to me, which was 1984 Godson writes Kerr saying he wasn't worried about turnovers was the dumbest comment
Wait,
ever.
when did he say that?
He said that. So, and I'm glad you brought that up. So after the first quarter, TNT does interviews after the first and third quarters with the head
Yeah,
coaches.
okay.
So
I must have gotten up and left my couch for a second because I was
it was
gonna say
crazy.
I listened to pregame. I didn't hear that. I just
Yeah, so it stuck out to me because Kerr came out and said that that the defense was phenomenal, and don't quote me verbatim, but I'm paraphrasing, but he was just really hyping up the defense, and I can't remember if the reporter followed it up by saying like, yeah, but what about all the turnovers? But Kerr then said the turnovers don't matter. He was happy with them. Like he actually said they were okay, and that he could live with them because of how good the defense was. But a huge reason why the defense looked good is because Sacramento shot horribly. I mean, their 3-point shooting tonight finished at 23.7%, and they still scored 114 points. So yeah, I heard that comment too. It was absolutely insane. Someone else also wrote about the Bucks being down 0-2 and coming back. I like this one. Rain King GW. I keep waiting for a dog to pop through Kylen's background. I do too.
doggies. I know, right? I'll try to get them to get the head right up here so you can see him through the back screen. Locked On wants us to use the, professional backgrounds now.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. Yeah.
So sorry, the dogs are here in
I
spirit,
think
though.
I would have preferred the dogs personally. But I thought your background was fine. 416 Music writes that I thought the Warriors in 5. I never said Warriors in 5. I said Warriors in 6. And then, but they follow up by asking, what have I seen that has since proven you not to be the case? Well, for starters, I thought Jonathan Kuminga was going to be a part of this. I didn't think small ball would be this focused. I mean, we're routinely seeing a Warriors team out there where the average height is like 6'4". It's like there was a lineup out there at one point that had 4
Yeah.
point guards. It was Steph, it was Poole, it was DiVincenzo, and it was Gary Payton II, and Looney. That was your 5. And not the worst 4 point guards in the world, because given Gary Payton II and DiVincenzo are good defensive players, but that is a tiny lineup. And like they're just getting killed. It sometimes is that simple in the sport of basketball. Like I'm 5'10. There was a reason why I never had a chance when I tried playing college or anything. 5'10 is tiny because like in basketball, height matters. I mean, Kerr's aversion to playing bigger players is just really crazy this year. And then Big Gulp with the insulting chat. You clearly don't watch the game. Clay hit clutch threes, to which I respond, if they were so clutch, why didn't they win the game? I know he hit those 3 late in the game, but too little too late, folks. Like it's if those threes resulted in a victory, my tip of a cap to Klay Thompson, but those weren't falling early in the game. He wasn't doing anything for 3 quarters. And by the time he started hitting those threes in the fourth, again, too late. I'm not seeing much from Klay this postseason. I don't know. I'm not seeing enough for a player who's making 40 something million, for a player that is one of the key pieces of this Warriors team. He's not looking like a superstar out there. He's looking like a Kevin Huerter out there on a good night. Your thoughts on Klay, Kylen, as we wrap things up? Maybe what I'm saying is controversial. I don't know. He's not impressing me in this series so far. I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think he's been great. I don't think he's been bad in the series. I mean, tonight overall, he didn't shoot bad. But I still think that, especially, I don't know. I just think the fact of the matter is, like, Klay or Steph needs to take over late in games in one of these situations. And I just feel like the Warriors haven't been able to get things under control late in games. Like both of these last 2 games, it's been close. They've been right there in the fourth, and they just haven't been able to close it out. And those are moments. I said it to my husband and I'm like, Steph Curry needs to take over right now. Klay Thompson needs to take over right now. So I think that's maybe the only thing I would question. I don't know that I didn't think Klay Thompson played bad in this game at all. Let me look. I mean, he ended up shooting 50% from
Like I said,
three.
yes, statistically, what I'm saying will not make sense if you just look at a box score.
Well,
This
I
is
agree. I want one of them to take over late in a game. Like, you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like, I want like Steph or Clay, and it's just like they just seem to like both these last two games, fourth quarter, like, Steph's throwing up some of these shots that it's Steph Curry. Yes, he can make them, but they're clanking off back iron and all, and whatever else, and they're just not falling.
yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know either. All I know is Mike Brown looks like a great coach in this series. Steve Kerr does not look
I
like
agree.
a great
I
coach.
agree. I
And
agree. Totally.
yeah, so this sucks. That's all I can say. If you're a member of Dub Nation, this flat out sucks. I don't know what's coming up next. I don't even know when the next game is. Is it Friday? Is that game 3? I mean, you're at a wedding anyways, but I'm just I honestly that's how like distraught I
Today's
am right
Monday.
now.
It shouldn't be Friday. It should be
Thursday?
Thursday, but I'm not 100% positive.
420. So 420 is
420,
Thursday.
Cyrus, what are you gonna be
Game
doing?
3. I'm gonna watch the Warriors. I'm gonna watch them hopefully win game 3, and then we'll see what happens after that. So, well, Kylen, you're taking
Wink,
off.
wink, hint, hint, 420.
Oh, we're Kylen, you're going to a wedding, so this is the last time we're gonna see you this week.
Yep.
Any final thoughts? I know we're going a little long, but it's okay. It's post game after a huge. This might be the end of the dynasty. So I think we can go a few minutes late here. Any final thoughts as we wrap
Don't
up
say that.
a disappointing? It's not looking good, Kylen. Because here's the problem: the Warriors had literally the worst season by any defending world champion in the modern era when it comes to road games. They were 11-30 this year. That is the worst record by any defending champion. The only exception to that was your 1999 Chicago Bulls. But A, that was a strike shortened season, and B, the Bulls team was not competing for another world championship. They were in complete rebuild mode. Everyone left. So at a certain point, like some in the regular season does have some meaning to it. It does have some relevancy. And I needed to see this Warriors team at least come out with a split in Sacramento for me to believe that they have this switch they can turn on where the regular season is just a thing of the past. I haven't seen that yet. And I'm starting to worry a lot because even if the Warriors do pull off 2 wins at Chase Center, and it's very possible. It's very possible. Largely because the same struggles we've seen from the bench at Golden One, you're not going to see that nearly as much. Role players, bench players, they thrive when they have a home crowd behind them. And so concurrently, you're going to see a lot of these Kings bench players that have been doing great so far not do so great. You're going to see that. So it's very possible after game 4, it's going to be a 2-2 series, and then it's going to be a best of 3. But I'm thinking more big picture. Like, even if the Warriors survive this series and get out, it's hard for me to picture at this point, and I hope I'm wrong. And maybe I'll reevaluate things, and maybe my tone will change. But the fact that they're down 0-2, it's the first time in this dynasty's history that they've fallen behind 0-2. I mean, the urgency was clearly there, and they responded with Draymond Green getting ejected, and like they're not making clutch shots, and their defense, which has been their staple and identity for this entire dynasty, is faltering right before our eyes. I mean, and even their offense can't score buckets. I mean, they scored tonight a whopping total of 106 points against the worst defense in the NBA. I mean, they're in trouble. That's all I can say. They're in huge trouble. This is Warriors, one of my few sources of happiness, and the fact that that's on the verge of going away is just totally bumming me out. But what the hell can you do about it? So I don't know. Yeah, I like.
My final thoughts are that the issues we saw tonight in game 2 are the same issues that have plagued the Golden State Warriors all season. The issues we saw tonight were playing poorly on the road, turnovers, fouls, living and dying by the 3 and not hitting threes, and then just not playing well in clutch situations. I feel like in the pivotal moments of the game, the Warriors have not been coming up big and executing. And all season long, fans have been like, okay, the switch is going to flip. At some point, it's all going to come together. These issues are all going to eradicate themselves. And it just hasn't happened at this point. The Warriors are now back fully healthy. That was another area that people had pointed to. Well, the Warriors have been missing players throughout the season. They haven't been fully healthy. Andrew Wiggins is back in the mix. Now, I don't think he's 100% or anywhere close to where he was prior to taking that leave of absence. I think it's going to take a little more time. But still, the switch clearly has not flipped. Is there still time? Can it still flip? Can the Warriors suddenly bring all of these things together and fix all these issues. I think down 0-2 in a series, there's plenty of reason to concern, but it is the Golden State Warriors. You can't count them out. That's what I will say. This is a group that has won championships and has shown that they have a special DNA. Can that come through? Can they do what many think is unthinkable? I mean, that's the question, and that's the fun in watching the rest of the series. If they now can tie things up and win both games at Chase Center, you're looking at a 2-2 series. They have to win one game on the road. One game on the road is all it would take. Can they pull out 40 minutes of something special? I'm excited to watch. I'm not counting the Warriors out yet, but I think it's fair to be concerned.
I absolutely. I love your optimism. I'm not 100% counting him out, but it's the first time since I've hosted this show that the panic button, I'm pressing it. I'm officially pressing it. This is not good. None of this is good. And we didn't even get to the sound. I don't even know what the hell they're saying in post game. I'm very curious to hear what Draymond has to say. But regardless, again, Kylen, you're going to a wedding. Have fun.
Yep.
I'm looking at just really quickly some of the attributions of the players. Klay Thompson saying we're not discouraged. Draymond Green saying they need to conquer the new challenge of being down 2-0 in the series. Do you want to hear Draymond before we go real quick?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so this is a Draymond Green talking about the fact that he's down. Oh, I'm watching him smiling. That's good. All right, so it's some encouraging stuff from Draymond Green there. All right, so here's Draymond Green talking about conquering the challenge of being down 0-2 with his, look at those grays in his beard. He's getting old.
Salt and pepper.
You guys have been down 3-1 a couple of times. You've been through just about everything, but you haven't been 0-2 in the series going home.
That's exciting, right?
I was going to ask you what you thought about it.
A new challenge. After the game, I was actually thinking about that. Like, man, I think this is one we haven't seen yet. And we've conquered all the rest of them. So why not go conquer this one? It'll be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. It's good.
There we go. So that's fair. Sorry, I was muted there for a second.
There's some more optimism, maybe.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I do like the optimism. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it was going to end at some point. I'm a little surprised that it's happening to Sacramento a little bit. Just a little surprising. I want to play one more sound before we go real quick, just because Draymond also talked about the incident with the stomping, and I'm really curious to hear what his reaction is and his perspective is on that. So let's play one more soundbite before we go. Thanks for staying with me, Kylen. There's Draymond Green talking about the stomping incident.
Can you just walk us through what happened there?
My leg got grabbed. Second time in 2 nights. Referees just watch it. I got to land my foot somewhere. And I'm not the most flexible person, so it's not stretching that far.
So you didn't really see where you were stepping? You just kind of...
I can only step so far and pulling my leg away. So it is what it is.
What was the explanation they gave? I know they gave him a technical, then obviously you figure into
The
it.
explanation was I stumped too hard.
How hard was that impact? Were you surprised that he was on the ground for that long?
No, I wasn't surprised that he stayed down that long.
You said 2 times you've been held with Sabonis, both times?
No, it was Monk last game. Right on the baseline under the rim. So either you're going to stop it. John Goble was looking at Monk hold my leg the last game, and he just let it go. And Zach clearly was watching my leg get held this game and let it go. So I guess ankle grabbing is okay.
How would you describe your actions and the crowd's actions after that? You certainly egged them on. Did you feel you needed to respond to them, or were you hearing anything that you needed to respond to there?
No, I'm just having fun. It's a fun game, fun atmosphere to play in. So it's fun.
All right, there we go. So that's interesting. And I totally sympathize. Again, I was just trying to reenact it on my own, and in that situation, if you try to avoid him and fall, you're gonna have to stretch your leg out really crazy. You're gonna have to just totally eat crap with your body just falling back, practically face planting on the hard court. If you try to just step on him gently, even that is just weird. I was trying to reenact like setting my foot down softly. That was hard to do. It's just a hard position for Dre to be in. And now we've learned it's the second time in the series he's been grabbed by the legs. these officials need to do something. I've seen some clips of officials watching Stephen Curry getting hacked and doing absolutely nothing about it. That's very concerning. Stephen Curry never gets superstar treatment. He got 2 free throw attempts in game 1. He did get 8 here in game 2 and made 7 of those. Any final thoughts from you, Kylen, on that? I'm glad we played that sound because that added a whole lot more.
No?
All right. Here we go. Have a great time in your wedding. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to go see Larry Krueger in just a minute. In about 10 minutes, I'll be joining his show to talk more Warriors if you want to see me there. Otherwise, follow Kylen Mills on all social media platforms, including Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Kylen Mills. Follow me one more time on Twitter at DogSurfRocho. And this program on Twitter, Locked On Dubs. That's where we make all our announcements for show start times, who the guests are, and so forth. I know exactly. Kylen, you need to go. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Love you, Kylen. Safe travels. We'll see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.